I'm frazzled.
Yeah, you had a busy day.
I had a busy day. A good busy, but busy. Oof.
It's good, but we're not as busy. And then we have a day we're like, wow, is this what it's really like?
When I have slow days, I'm like, I should be busier. And then when I have busy days, I'm like, why isn't it slower? I don't know how to manage my time effectively.
And even the way we define busier and not busier, I think is different, since COVID, and
true,
especially in our line of work. It's just we're kind of in a different world than other people.
Yes.
Like where some people work at least 8 hours a day.
Right.
Because, all the way through. Ours can be broken up.
Yeah. No. And I don't go into an office. I don't go out anywhere. My God, am I shut in?
I felt like a shut in yesterday, and I was losing it because I didn't go to play tennis in the morning. That doesn't do well for my day. I have to get out of the place in the morning. Do I sound really good?
We're really connecting to our working class listeners.
All right, not even to tennis. I need to get out.
I hate when I can't go out and play tennis in the morning.
I'm not in some private club. I'm out
at the
park and it's freezing cold and whatever.
Your choice.
I wasn't trying to sound bougie.
Your choice.
Getting out and moving my body is what I'm trying to say. Is like a big deal. When I don't do it, I see a significant effect on my mood.
Yeah, because
especially with the weather yesterday.
It's a healthy habit.
It was wonderful.
That's the other thing I'm mad about today is it's in Philadelphia. It's 64 degrees right now, and it's going down to 30 something tonight. So I'm mad because I want it just to be 64 forever.
And we didn't.
And I didn't get to enjoy it. I was inside.
We really didn't get and we did not get the sun that we had really hoped for. That was really going to make it feel like it. Because I can tell you, even when it was in the high 50s, it was cold because it was still damp from the rain last night.
Right.
This is a weather program.
It is now. And I feel cheated. So I want to do over.
Got it.
So whoever I need to write, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter to NOAA, the North Oceanic Atmospheric.
That should go over.
National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency. I think I got that.
Go for it.
Anyway.
I'm behind you all the way.
You're supporting me.
Oh my gosh, I'm waiting for this warm weather. I told you I'm going to Florida in like 2 weeks. So.
Don't stop. Playing tennis and going to Florida. We're losing so many listeners right now because you...
It's a funny little picture that we're painting. That
right. I don't participate in any of it. I'm holding it down. Really? I'm holding it down for the working class listener right now. Meat and potatoes. Let's introduce our guest, if we could, please. She's waiting so patiently, listening to us be idiots on podcast. So our guest today, super interesting. I really love listening to her stories, and I really want everybody else to hear her story too. An accomplished PR professional who, over her 30-year career, has managed press for major brands and authors on huge shows like 2020 and Good Morning America and Ellen. She's been everywhere. She's here to share her story with us and talk to us about PR and building good relationships. Folks, from Andrea Pass PR, it's Andrea Pass is here. Woo-hoo! Hi, Andrea.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me today.
Great. Thank you for being here and taking time. You're very busy.
But I have to say, I did take a break to go outside and walk around the block because in North Jersey, it was in the mid 60s today. And the temperature is dropping rapidly as it is in Philly.
Yes.
So it was great to get a little fresh air.
Yeah, after this, I'm going out on a dinner date. So hopefully the temperature stays around the 60s, the low 60s. But yes.
I think you'll get like an hour or two before it really.
See, I have to leave the house without a jacket and I have to bring one with me because it's going to be freezing when I come home. Who planned this? Who designed this?
It's a roller coaster. It's a total roller coaster.
Roller coaster of emotions. Andrea, I wanted you on the show because we had a one-on-one before and I was so fascinated by your story. And I wanted you to be able to share your story, not only with Kristen, but with our listening and viewing audience as well. Yes. You own what it sounds like a very successful and hard-hitting PR company. And I'm curious how you got where you are.
It's so much fun to be a solopreneur. Because
yes.
For all those years, I started out at CBS in New York City at the CBS radio division. And then I moved to the agency side, and it was someone else's name on the door. And I was doing all the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I was bringing in all the clients. And I said, this is ridiculous. Why am I doing it this way? And I was putting in 1 million hours, 24, 6.5, basically. Every vacation, getting called on vacation. What about this? What about that? This is not what life is supposed to be like. And so a number of years ago, the opportunity presented itself, and I started Andrea Pass Public Relations as a solopreneurship. And I haven't looked back. And I have all these great clients, some who've known me forever and ever and ever, and other people who have just met me or are referred to me from other people. And I'm busy getting them press coverage. I'm getting them famous. And it's fun. It's fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. Finding something that you love to do that's fun, that you get up excited in the morning about what you're doing. I wish that for everybody. And like the clients I have, I hope I help them find a little sliver of that in their life, because it changes your whole outlook on life, especially if you have a business where you're helping people, like you do. I don't know. What do you?
No, it just made me think of my father. He very much instilled that from a young age in all of us. And I know for him, he's 82. I think he's 82.
Oh, yes, man.
He still loves to get up and go to work every day, and he does. And he's loved it. He built his own company, and he has loved it since my beginning of time with him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to see that. It was really good role modeling, just being himself and doing what he loved. And I know it's not that simple for everybody. Not everybody's like, yay. They may enjoy it okay and find their passion in other things. But I feel very lucky that I found my calling, or whatever you want to call it, in my early 20s, and it's kind of defined who I am as a person, as well as how what my professional life looks like.
Right. And I know, like you said, everything is different depending on who you are. Me starting my own business is a different journey than Andrea you've had, because, unfortunately, as a white guy, I think I have a lot more opportunities available readily than a lot of other people do. What do you think was the biggest hurdle or obstacle in starting your own business when you did?
I think it wasn't getting clients. That wasn't the issue, because I had clients within days.
That's great.
Because people knew me. But there were things I didn't know about business. I'm not a numbers person. I hate numbers. Okay, I'm married for 34 years to a guy who does budgets, finance, accounting. That's why our relationship works. He's a numbers guy. I'm a creative gal. It works perfectly. And so had I not had him to handle that end of things, the financial end of things, and I'm working on things, I think I would have gone absolutely bonkers. But then again, when you start a business, you have to align yourself with other people, especially when you're being a solopreneur. But I think that, I'm not good at that. I'm good at filling out my wave thing so that the bills go out, but keeping the books, let him do that. It's okay with me. And I can focus on securing press coverage and meeting new clients and networking and doing media training and all the things I need to do for my clients. So it's really worked out well, but don't ask me to do numbers. And I was always good at math. I hate that end of business.
Yeah. Do you think people are born to be entrepreneurs, or do you think it's something that can be learned over the course of your career?
It's very interesting, because just earlier today, I was talking to someone who was very outgoing on the call. And then she said, I'm an introvert. And I'm thinking, you don't strike me as an introvert, but I think that you have to be an extrovert to be able to start. You could possibly start as an introvert, but I think that you have to put yourself out there in order to start a business, because how are you going to go somewhere if you're kind of like in your shell? And I think certainly, Kristen, you from a therapy standpoint, could certainly understand that you have to come out of your shell and you sometimes have to do awkward things like finances or legal documents or things like that that you may not have studied in school or had been exposed to before. I always worked for someone else. So that wasn't my job. I'd bring in the business, I'd negotiate the contract, but someone else was handling all the paperwork and the billing and all of that. So I think that in business, you have to, you could become an entrepreneur later in life, or you can start out as an entrepreneur, but you have to be out there. And I think that's really important. And if you don't have that personality to be out there, you've got to work on it. Because, right, we all know people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Well, they're not going to get to know you if you don't put yourself out there.
Right. Building that circle of support, no matter what that looks like, is invaluable in every aspect of our life, but especially when you're building a business on your own. Sometimes people can be of the mindset that I have to do everything myself. And if I can't do everything myself, I failed in some way as an entrepreneur or business person. That's not the case. Like you said, your strong suit is not math and numbers. Tapping into somebody else who likes doing that and can help you is actually a smart business move. Right.
Yeah. In fact, this afternoon, I was meeting with a colleague who I've known since the start of the pandemic. It's amazing how many of us have met and become really tight over video. And she's going to be redoing my website because it's time and I want changes, and she has ideas, and I know it's a process. And she says, how quickly do you want to do this? And I said to her, by the end of the year. She says, oh my gosh, that we could accomplish. I had a realistic expectation.
Yeah.
Because so many times in business, people expect it to be done now. I want you to do this now. And I'm sure, Ralph, with your coaching, I want to change now. Well, change takes time. Business takes time. Growth takes time. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate enough before I started Andrea Pass Public Relations by having relationships and working with so many amazing clients who kept saying to me, why aren't you in business for yourself? Because they liked working with me, not the name on the door. They knew I was accomplishing things. And so those relationships that we make certainly turn our business, into something that you can say, I love what I do all day, so I don't work a day in my life. That's all part of it. So I know I'm hokey, I get a little corny, but it is part of it.
Not for us. You can be a lot more cornier.
Yeah.
We can take it.
Yeah.
Something you just said was really great. And it's oh man, now my brain just went blank. It's help me. What did I do?
I don't know what was in your brain.
Ask a question. Ask a question.
Well, certainly, relationships lead to referrals that lead to revenue in general.
Yeah.
But you have to be outgoing to even get those relationships. You have to take the time.
Right.
That's the part.
Even today,
she's talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, even today, before we started, I was discussing with Ralph how we actually have something in common that I found because I took the extra time to make sure I knew extra stuff about Ralph, even though we've met a number of times before. And I think that that's part of something you remember about a person in order to grow your business, and for other people to say, yeah, that person is accomplishing things for me. Plus, I like the person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Knowing what you can and can't do, like being an introvert, like you said, and putting yourself out there, you can have somebody else help you with that too. Like if you want to run a business by yourself, but like, hey, I may need some help in the beginning with building relationships or having somebody write emails for me or like teach me how to do certain things. That's okay. It's not like you're failing at anything to ask for help with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Right? The thing that jumped out that Andrea said, I was thinking about myself a little bit, that I think that's my biggest strength is I am such an extrovert, and I can, this, that's how we met. No. That's how we met. I can talk, and I will go up and talk to anyone, and I'm very comfortable in that world. But on a business sense and in numbers, no, not strong. Like that was not my strong suit. So I think that, and it still isn't. Obviously, I've learned as I've grown, but I do feel for people that don't have that comfort. Of course, I work with many clients that don't. and don't have that comfortability. And it's not easy for them to do that, because I think in so many areas of life, not just business, that can be very, very difficult. So I'm very grateful for that part of my personality.
Yeah. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It's about us. We as a society have been trained to have a really short attention span when it comes to, like you said, with me and my clients, like, I want to change now. And there's a little bit of education there to be like, it's going to take some time. Your life is like a cruise liner. It's not a little dinghy that can turn on a dime. It's going to take some time for changes to happen once you start turning the wheel. And I think that's the same way in building relationships, trying to connect all the dots for all of us. Is relationships take time too, especially good, solid, deep relationships that last a long time, where you can, especially if you're an entrepreneur, solopreneur, get leads, get clients, build your network. That takes time. And if you are somebody who needs results immediately, it's something you're going to have to work on.
Yeah.
No, and it's so funny, because in what I do in public relations and securing interviews and coverage for clients, it doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. You could do an interview today, but it may not run for another 2 months. Or you could be interviewed and someone cuts you out of the story. It's all part of PR. But anyone who wants instant gratification, have your ad ready to go and buy leftover remnant space, and your ad will run tomorrow. But an ad isn't as believable as editorial content. Mm-hmm. So people buy more because they learn something about your company from editorial coverage, from press coverage and media coverage, as opposed to advertising. Advertising costs a lot more, PR costs a lot less, and puts you out there with oftentimes evergreen content mm-hmm. that you can use over and over again. So I think when it comes to that instant gratification, I'm not going to be able to work. It's not going to happen. It's not instant. It takes time. But anything in business is growth and time. And I think that I always say to people, okay, start today.
Right.
Start. It's all going to work out. And I think the same with the two of you and your clients. You have to start somewhere.
Yep. That's one of the best ways to get over procrastination. If you're somebody who doesn't like to do stuff, is just start. Do the thing that you are not wanting to do, and it just makes it infinitely more easier, and like, oh, okay, I can do this. And then it gets done. It's the same thing. No matter how old you are, where you are in your life, if you have something you want to do, just start it. Just start it and do it, because you never know until mm-hmm. the process starts.
Exactly.
And I'm curious, how long, like, say you want to get a client on 2020, how long does that process actually take? Because it doesn't happen overnight, like, oh, we'll have you on tomorrow,
And in that particular case, it's so funny, when I used to interview people when I worked for a firm, and I would interview people for jobs, I would say, what's your PR placement of a lifetime? Because I wanted to know what and for me, a double segment on 2020 was my placement of a lifetime. And so that one, of course, stands out differently than others, but that easily took me 8 or 9 months from the time I started pitching until it got forwarded until something happened. And when something happened and the producer called me, we were actually heading to the International Houseware Show in Chicago, and we were doing an event for a client of ours who was meeting inventors of consumer products. And they said, oh, we want to do this story. Are you doing one of these inventor events soon? I said, yeah, in 3 days. And it was all like, boom, boom, boom. Oh, and did you pick any of the inventions? Are you going to shoot an infomercial? Yes. Well, how soon are you shooting it? We're shooting it. We could do it in 2 weeks in St. Petersburg. Fine. Let's fly to St. Petersburg. Can I meet with your client in New York? The client's in New Jersey. Fine. Bring the client into New York City. Right. And we changed our mind. In addition to that, we want to go to their office. Boom, boom, boom. Organize. And then it was edited and it was all scheduled. And the day before it was scheduled to air, the producer calls me up. It was bumped.
No.
And I'm thinking, oh no, all this work. He says, I'll let you know when I have more information. And about a week or two goes by, and he says, it's going to run in about a month, and now it's going to be a double segment, meaning there's a commercial break and they continue, which is very unusual and very amazing. And he says, yeah, we want to make it bigger. And so needless to say, I was thrilled to pieces. But the average, so avoiding the the Ellens of the world and the 2020s and the Good Morning America. The average time for securing an article or an interview could take weeks, and then weeks for it to happen. So in PR, I work two ways. I work proactively, that I'm out pitching a story. And then reactively, I subscribe to all these databases and newsletters where press say to people like me, we're writing a story. Do you have anyone that'll fit into the topic? And then I work my clients in where appropriate, but so do other PR people. So we have to say, okay, we hope ours is the one that's going to stand out. But you got to be in it to win it. So if you're not in it, you don't even have a shot.
So not only putting yourself out there and having patience, but also tenacity, because you have
flexibility.
And flexibility.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I just had a client the other day, had 2 interviews set up, and his assistant got in touch with me and said, he can't do either of the interviews today. Can you reschedule them? And I'm like, oh my goodness. One of them we had already rescheduled because of his schedule. And one of the reporters was nice enough to say, yes, I could do it this day. And the other one said, I'm really not going to have time for another month or 2. I'll touch base when I have time. And I'm like, oh no, I might lose that.
Yes.
But it's the nature of the beast. And so you have to go with the flow, and you have to follow up. And it's a lot of it is in the follow up in any business. If none of us follow up on things, how are things going to get done? Mm-hmm. You can't just throw spaghetti at the wall, hope it sticks, and then you walk away.
Right.
I've never done that.
I'm not going to do that.
I usually just taste it.
No, and I'm not going to do that.
Don't do that in your beautiful home.
No, don't, listeners, don't do that. It ruins your paint. There's easier ways to test if something's done.
No. Please, we are not saying do that. I have a question.
Please.
I don't know if you've already covered this question, but it's kind of burning for me. I mean, you have in a way. I'm just curious if you are able to speak a little bit more on, other than being, as I can tell, and as you stated, an extrovert and big on building relationships, do you think you could speak a little bit more specifically to what it, in your opinion, it takes to build those relationships? What is it about Andrea Pass that all these people want to work with you? What is it that are the important qualities for that piece of making you and maybe upcoming public relations individuals successful?
Yeah, and I love the question, because I think there's more to business than only business. Mm-hmm. So making sure that the clients understand and expectations are set that are realistic. Back in the olden days, I want to be on Oprah. You're not Brad Pitt. You're not going to be on Oprah. So there has to be something realistic. John Doe or Jane Doe who wrote a book, you're not necessarily going to be featured on the Today Show, but let's start somewhere. So I think that relationships start with honesty and openness and ability. And I think that with my clients, always communicating effectively with them, not ghosting. So many people ghost people. No, I'm in touch. I tell you, really, is this going to happen or is this not going to happen? And sometimes it hurts to hear what I have to say, but I'm telling you the truth. And I was going to say sleep at night, but I'm getting older, so I don't sleep that much. But, I need to be able to do that. And I think building the relationships so that I know about you and your family, or the fact that you like tennis, or the fact that you do stand-up comedy, or whatever it might be, that's really important for people to know that, that I like to travel, that I'm in a book club. I actually play Mahjong, go figure.
Yeah, my mom plays that.
Yeah, it's, there's all these things that you could learn, and that creates a stronger relationship. And I remember years ago, I had a client who I traveled with all the time. And at one point, someone approached this client about doing a family reality show with the kids included. And my client's wife, who I knew very well, she said to me, Andrea, what do you think? And I said to her, I can answer you 2 ways. Do you want me to answer you as a mom, or do you want me to answer you as a public relations professional? And she said, let's start with the mom. I said, don't you dare put your children on TV where everything they do is being watched And if they ever pick up a red Solo cup when they're underage, the whole world will know. I said, don't do it. She says, from a public relations standpoint, I said, I would love to sink my teeth into getting the PR around your reality show. I said, so from a PR standpoint, yes, we will get so much press. You will be everywhere, but you will have no privacy whatsoever. I will love it. I'll be exhausted. I said, you're going to have to hire me to have no other clients. I said, but yes, I would love to do this from a PR standpoint. And of course, they didn't do the reality show. Which was really smart from a family standpoint. But I think getting to know your clients, like you're not just a number. It's long term, and even if it's a short account. And I've worked with authors for 6 months. I still stay in touch with them because authors don't tend to have a budget to do PR for a long amount of time. So they'll do it for a short amount of time. But I stay in touch and I remind them, reuse the press that we got. It's evergreen. Your book could still be relevant. Just reuse it.
Right.
So I think the relationship part is getting to know people more than just what's on the surface in business.
Because then it sounds trust is what's coming up for me. They trust you because it's genuine and it's a real relationship, and it's not just about you and what you're going to get from them or about what they're going to get from you. It's actually a mutually rewarding, it sounds like, relationship that has a lot of like genuine parts to it. And I would think with some of the clients, especially some of the I don't know what the word is, like bigger clients, that they may not encounter a lot of other, I know nothing about PR, so if I'm talking and saying dumb stuff, then tell me. But like, I don't know that every PR person would be like you. I just can't imagine that they all are. As far as that,
and I think
attention that you spend on really creating those relationships.
Right.
And certainly the challenge is, sure, if you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation, you're not hiring solopreneur Andrea. You're going with a big PR firm that you're going to have a team of 20 people working on your account. But how many interns and newbies are you getting?
Yeah.
And so things might fall through the cracks. Things might slip. You don't have an experienced person, and the experienced person is not doing the day-to-day on the account in a big PR firm. And if that's what you're looking for and that's what you need, that is fine. I don't work with those people. I work with entrepreneurs and small businesses. I like to work with the owner, the CEO. I don't want to go through the rigmarole of talking to an assistant to see if they're available and can we book the interview, and it just doesn't work that way. I want to know that if I have to pick up the phone, tonight at 8:00 at night and call my client because there's an interview we can get tomorrow, that I could just do it and not go through that. But it comes with experience, it comes with knowledge, and it comes with feeling comfortable in your own skin. And I'm comfortable in my own skin to be able to set those expectations, to talk to a client if I have to at night or on the weekends, or to tell my client, this isn't urgent. We don't have to talk at night or on the weekend.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are people out there who have a PR professional working with them who want somebody who's just like a yes man to always show them the sunshine and not tell them what you do. And I think that does a disservice, because I think honesty is, above all else, something that's really valuable in a professional relationship. And if you're working with somebody and just telling them what they want to hear, I don't think you're doing them any favors or bringing any value to the relationship.
100%. And it's just amazing when you've been in a field as long as I have, or even in the time that you two have been in your fields, the stories and the things that happened. And I had a bully boss many years ago, and the bully boss had the office manager write a letter to a client saying that the Oprah show at the time was interested in the client and they're working on it. And the office manager, when she eventually left the company, she said to me, I can't believe I had to do that I had to lie. And I said, I don't ever want to lie. Mm-hmm. And I had a client call me a few weeks ago, and he's a TV personality. So he's a familiar face. And he said, Andrea, I need you to do this, 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 and this. Can you drop everything? And I said, no, I can work on your account. I can't drop everything. I have other clients. I said, but there's going to be a challenge because of XYZ. But I need you to get me here and get me there and blah, blah, blah. I said, you're selling a product. I said, they're not going to just take you straight out. They're going to say, get an ad.
Yeah.
And I said, that's your call. And he calls the next day. All right, are we on? I said, you tell me if we're on. I said, I'm being honest. This is going to be very difficult. And he says, okay, I want you to do it. And he called me a few days later. How are we doing? I said, if I had any interviews yet, you would have known. I said, I need to expand the circle. And if you'll let me expand the circle, I'll get interviews for you. But this isn't working the way you want it to work. And I'm being honest with you. All right. And then today we had an interview with Forbes. So he sat tight and let me play it a different way, the way I saw the result would be. And he was in a really good mood today after this interview.
Well,
I would be too.
But I also hear the trust. Yeah. Even though he was being eager beaver, whoever he is, I don't know who I'm calling eager beaver.
Brad Pitt.
He was being eager.
He's probably Brad Pitt.
Yeah. He obviously had that trust in you that he, whoever he is, he had that trust in you, and you were able to manage his expectations, remind him of the patience, remind him of the time it takes for change, whatever change may be. And not drop all your other clients and, jump to whatever was going on with him. And
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the thing. The thing is you meet, so many people, and everyone, like we said before, is in a hurry. But, I'm sure as you're coaching people, you have to kind of set those expectations. And there are probably clients that you don't take because you say, this is not going to be a good mix.
Yep. Yeah. I have had clients that I've had to turn away. Speaking of which, do you have any juicy stories about a client that you've had to turn away for some ridiculous reason?
Here's a crazy one. When I started my company a few years ago, and of course I put it all over Facebook and LinkedIn and whatever, a woman I was on the college radio station with, a million years ago, reached out to me and she says, congratulations. My boss could really use public relations. Can I connect you? Sure. And the man had a box of stuff that would help you lose weight. Okay, it was like a weight loss box, and you'd follow this diet of the stuff in this box for 2 weeks, and you were going to lose 5 to 10 pounds. Okay, I'm game. Spoke to the guy. He says, why don't we go out to lunch? So I meet him at a restaurant where he knew everyone in the restaurant. Red flag.
Oh,
Red flag. And as the lunch was going on, he starts calling me Ann. My name is Andrea. I don't go by Ann. I go by Andrea. Uh-huh. And you don't know me well enough to even give me a nickname. And so now I could feel like tensing up, and everything he said sounded like fingernails on a chalkboard. Mm-hmm. And I get this box of stuff, and in the box is a laxative. So I say to him, I'm a little confused. Wouldn't anyone who took laxatives for a number of days or weeks lose weight? If they're barely eating and they're taking laxatives? I'm not a doctor. He says, that shouldn't have been in the box. Another red flag. Mm-hmm. So I write the letter of agreement, and I wait, and he calls me up. He says, and this was based on his budget. He says, it's really out of my budget. And I said, we had agreed on this budget because I made my budget higher because I knew this was not my kind of person. And I said, well, you stay well, we'll talk. A few months later, he calls on a holiday that I was observing, that he knew I was observing because his wife observed the same holiday. So the next day I say, I'm available to speak to you at whatever time, 3 p.m. At 2:30, I see he's calling. I'm on with a client. I'm not taking his call. I told him 3 p.m. I call him up, I call him back, and he says, I'm ready to hire you. I'll give you $1,000 a month, every month, as long as you work. I said, but that's not my retainer fee. My fee. No, but I'll still set as if $1,000 a month was a lot of money. And he says, piggyback me on your other clients. Whoa. I said, never. I don't piggyback my clients. Each client is individual. I work for each client separately, and I don't piggyback my clients. I said, so you give it some thought. My original proposal will still stand. I said, but this has to be your decision to make this commitment. And I knew he wouldn't, which is why I was so nice about it. And I got off the phone and I said, that was great. I don't have to work with this guy. I turned down his lousy $1,000 a month that he expected me to work 1,000,000 hours. And it felt so good.
Doesn't it feel great? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would have gotten up and walked out when I saw the box full of stuff.
Yeah. The box sounds really rudimentary or whatever the right word is. Like, what? Why were we doing a box?
No, thank you. And all it was in it was just a bottle of laxatives.
Yeah, it had laxatives and it had a packet of pea soup and a Kind bar and a granola bar. And this was a whole bunch of these things that this is what you were supposed to eat for like a week or 2 weeks. And this was all you ate. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness gracious, where's the protein in this?
Right? Holy cow.
But if you have no protein, I guess you'll lose weight. But
right. It sounds like a lunch I would pack myself
and
in high school if I didn't know any better. I want to bring it back to the relationship part of what we're talking about, especially for people who are listening who may not be in a space to afford an amazing PR person. I feel like there's stuff here that can be applied to anybody in terms of like promoting yourself and relationships and getting out there. What are like maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you could tell somebody who just wants to apply the generality of PR to their life to kind of build relationships and get themselves out there?
Well, I think I'd start by saying, know what you want to say.
Yes.
Okay. So if you don't know what your message is, and whether the message is a business message, a personal message, a volunteer thing you do, or what have you, know what your message is. Mm-hmm. Because I think when it comes to public relations, messaging is key. Mm-hmm. And stick to the message, because too often you can get sidetracked. And I've told some fun stories, but you can get sidetracked, but know what you want to come back to as your message. And the other tip, if there's only 2, follow up. Because if you don't follow up, like if I'm not following up with the press, my client isn't going anywhere. If I'm not following up with a new business opportunity, it's not going to happen. If I'm not following up to see when you're running the show, I may not know. So it's like you need to take the time to follow up, know your message, follow up.
Yeah.
So in a little snippet. But also, if I could add a third one.
Please.
Do your homework. Do your homework, because so many people say to me, oh, but there are press release wire services. That'll get me tons of press. No, a press release wire service will cost you from a few $100s to $1,500. I mean, it could be expensive. It will increase your SEO for an hour. It's a blip. Now, financial companies that are traded financially on the stock exchange, they do this because they have to put certain numbers out, codes out, whatever. But for the average person who's an entrepreneur or a small business, don't spend your money on that. Put it toward someone who's going to actually pitch your story and get you press coverage. So a press release is not the way to go on everything. A press pitch and having a story, a message. What do you want to say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Knowing you have to know yourself to be able to express yourself. Right? Like you have to have a self to express.
I was thinking, wreck yourself before you express.
Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Also great advice. I'm not going to lie. That's also good advice.
It's from the song,
and you know what? Your point on that, as much as you're laughing, you have to remember in a press interview, the press is not your friend.
Oh, so yeah.
Check yourself is really before you wreck yourself is really.
Oh my God, you should use that now. I think it's a song. It's from a song, but I think it would be fun for you to have with your clients.
But I have to tell you, I'm writing that down. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. I won't remember it later. But I have a client that got on the phone with New York Daily News who were doing a story about something that had been questionable in one of the advertisements my client had put out. And the client said, "Oh, I was away skiing in wherever." And and I'm thinking, I said, "Well, that's not what he meant. He meant," and the reporter says, "Andrea, I'm going to have you get off the phone." And the client says, "Andrea, it's fine." I called him right after. I said, "That's going to be the quote." And that was the quote. Yeah. I said, always, the press is not your friend. Recognize what you say before you say it. Mm-hmm. And I had a time that someone called me about new business and did not know something about me and used a derogatory term. And I proceeded to then say, "Oh, yes, I am," whatever. And he didn't know what to say. I said, "Yeah, I guess this call is over. We won't be working together." And that was the end of that. Like, wow. Watch what you say to people.
I remember learning that probably like 6 years ago or something. I worked at a hospital in North Philadelphia, and they were doing a lot of all over the Inquirer I don't care if I'm telling on myself, but a lot of pieces on food insecurity. And I was very involved in that. And so there was I had never been involved with a journalist coming out and interviewing and all that stuff. And I'm running my mouth. I think I'm just talking. I don't think I'm in an interview. Right. I'm running my mouth. I'm talking and I'm saying things. And then I was quoted in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And it was nothing horribly where I'm going to jail or anything, but it wasn't something I wanted to be put in the paper about. I was kind of being sarcastic when I said it. And I was like, "Oh crap." And I learned a very hard lesson right then. You're not off the record. You're just, if you're talking, they can be writing this stuff down and putting and publishing it. Mm-hmm. It was on the front page. And again, I didn't say anything really bananas, but it wasn't something I really wanted printed either.
Yeah. That's why I just say no comment to everybody I see, even if they're not press.
With all the press up in your face with their mics.
I know, right? This space.
I mean, they're outside right now.
This put them all out there. Yeah, right.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to talk, Ralph. I'm gonna have to do some media training there. But you go on stage, so you're used to those public.
You're gonna have to do some cleanup for me, Andrea. I'm sorry. I don't mean to spring it on you. But, all right. Final thoughts, everybody. What I thought there's a lot for me, about honesty, tenacity, and authentic relationships all around. I think knowing yourself, like you said, Andrea, which is great. Know yourself, the message you want to get out there. If you have a business or not, just want to get out there and network with people and get yourself out there. Know what you're about and who you want to meet and what you want to do. Always be honest and upfront with people. Don't pull punches, and be tenacious. If you really want something, go after it and keep checking in and following up and doing that's the hard work that businesses are built on is all that legwork that you do. Yeah.
Well, you just said everything and now you're looking at me. What the hell? What? Were you going to leave a little nugget?
Sorry.
What's happening here? Sorry. No, I think this might be totally, I'm kidding with you, but this might be totally whatever, but I'm just going to say it.
Sure.
I've never sat down and had a conversation with somebody in PR. It was just, to me, it was just wonderful. And you're such a, to hear you, the way you approach it and how you do your work is just so refreshing to me too. Cause I see the silliness on TV, which is probably not really always reflective of what it's all about, but I really didn't know. And I learned a lot today. And I really love obviously, because it's kind of my jam, of how you approach people and work with people and your honesty. And even though you're in a totally different field, I think that's the way I approach my work. So I felt like a connection there. And I think you do too.
Yeah.
That was just really refreshing and fun. And I didn't know I've just never had a sit down with someone in your role. And it was really, really great. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's just a basic snippet and I really didn't go into the meat of public relations, but certainly everyone should have public relations in their marketing mix. And they need to find the right PR person or company to do the work, and someone who's going to not only be results driven, but like you said, honest, authentic, have the tenacity, have the relationships, and set the expectations. And I think that anything in life that we do, those things should be part of our world. So it's definitely, it feels good that we all see things in all of our fields, even though we do different things, the three of us, we really do have to approach it the same way.
Yeah, I kind of love the fact that we saw the commonalities.
Yeah.
I just would never have like connected those dots prior to having this conversation with you. So I'm very grateful, and this is just great.
The system works.
This was great.
This was great.
Great.
Andrea, anything
Thank
you
you.
want to plug before we tie everything up?
Well, anyone who's listening, watching, whatever, and wants to learn more about public relations, go over to my website, AndreaPassPR.com, and make an appointment with me. I do a complimentary consultation. And so we could talk about what it is you're looking for and how can we grow that business. And follow me on Facebook, Andrea Pass Public Relations, or on LinkedIn, Andrea Pass. And let's connect, because you just never know, and you have to start today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, final question. It just popped into my head.
Oh.
Is the saying, any press is good press, true, or is that completely false?
Honestly, if there's a crisis and you have a negative situation, you're going to be in the press. You can't control that. But then you have that opportunity to make good, fix it, and get positive press. So any press is good press. And along those lines, whether you're being interviewed at a media outlet that has a few hundred readers, viewers, listeners, or one that has millions, it doesn't matter. You have to resonate with one, and another one, and another one. And so start somewhere,
Right.
because not everything is going to be on a major TV station, and you may not even get the response that you want, when you might be getting the response you want via an interview on a podcast or on a blog or something targeted. So take some baby steps before you start running.
Good advice. Andrea,
She used my phrase. That's what I use all the time
Oh,
with
baby
my
steps?
clients. Baby steps.
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. Andrea Pass PR. Thank you so
Thank you
much. This
so
was
very much.
amazing. I had so much fun.
This was great.
This is great. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Stick around for after the show. We'll follow up and do some debrief. Thank you, everybody, for listening to the show, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.